What's up? Russell here. I'm going to document our first ever cook of a brisket on the Weber Smokey Mountain. Expectations are pretty low. Never done this before, but should be interesting to watch. Let's check it out. So I was gifted a Weber Smokey Mountain from a pitmaster out of Escondido, KCN, probably like one of the foremost leaders in barbecue in the Escondido area. So he gave me this. This is actually my second time cooking on it. First time made some baby back ribs. They turned out really good, so it got me a little confident to start something new. So I'm gonna try a brisket, but to be honest, everyone that I know that's cooked a brisket the first, second times, it was pretty garbage. So I'm thinking this is probably gonna not turn out too well, but just want to document it, kind of follow along, see how it goes. So after watching a bunch of YouTube videos, I am using the minion method. That's kind of where you put all the coals to the outside, make a little spot in the middle, then you light your coals up, put your lit coals right in the middle, and then the fire is supposed to slowly spread out, and the heat's supposed to slowly spread out, prolonging your cooking time. So pretty basic, super easy to do. Worked well with the baby backs, but again, I think I got a false sense of confidence. We will see how it works with this. Also, one big mistake I made, or I guess it's not really a mistake yet, I changed the charcoal. I was using Kingsford before to a different type of charcoal that I got from a barbecue shop. Charcoal was pretty expensive, and it definitely responds a lot different than Kingsford. You watch this, it lights up and is fully going in like 2 minutes, so a lot different. Hopefully I'll be able to control it, but probably dumb switching from a charcoal that I knew already to one that I don't know. But like I said, I don't know what I'm doing. Expectations low, so we'll see how it goes. So like I said, this is my second time using this grill. First time I was blown away by how easy it was to keep the temperature stable. There's basically 3 vents on the bottom, 1 on the top, and to raise the temperature, you open the vents all the way. To lower the temperature, you close them a little bit and then wait 30 minutes and see how it reacts. But I was like literally blown away with how easy it was. I didn't touch anything pretty much for whatever. They cooked the ribs for 5 hours, I think, and the temperature just stayed steady at, I think, a little over probably like 265 for the ribs. So that was something that I was like, I didn't expect. I thought it would be way more work to use this. It's really easy, but then again, I've only used it once, so maybe that was a anomaly, but it was very easy to keep the temperature stable. So here we are. The charcoal that I was using was Canadian Maple, Big Green Egg brands, and it just lit up way faster than I expected, which was, I'm sure it's fine, but just something that I wasn't used to, and made me very worried in the beginning, and still worried that I wouldn't be able to control the charcoal as easy as before, and maybe it would light too fast, but we'll see. I think it's a pretty popular brand. The guy at the barbecue store recommended it, so we'll see how it works out. For my wood, I'm using some hickory chunks from my first smoke of the baby backs. One of the mistakes I made was using a little bit too much hickory in there. A little goes a long way, and it could be overwhelming. It's pretty strong, so I'm gonna try it with 2 chunks this time. I just put the chunks kind of by 2 of the vents, so there's gonna be airflow going through there, and then dump the hot coals in the middle, and then hopefully those hot coals will slowly creep out and allow for a slow cook over whatever it takes, 12 hours, we'll see. But there it is. That is the minion method, at least how I understand it, and hopefully it works out for us. So we're slowly putting the grill together here. we got all the vents fully open so we can get that fire going. Now we're gonna add some water to the water pan. From what I've seen online, I'm just gonna fill it about 3/4 of the way full. Again, I don't really know what I'm doing. I just watched a bunch of YouTube videos and think that this will be a fun thing to do for an afternoon. We got some good football on today. So water's in there, throwing on the grill, throwing on the grates. And there it is all together. So one thing that I was told is you want to line up everything on the front. So front grate, front vents with the opening with everything. So that's kind of what I did. Again, all vents are fully open, and this is where we will take a look at the meat. So I feel like I made a couple pretty big mistakes with the meat. I've never butchered a brisket before, so I may have gone a little overboard. I definitely started cutting. There's like a ton of fat, so I maybe cut off more than I needed to. And then another mistake was I left it out, and I had really not great knives. They were pretty dull. So as the fat kind of got closer to room temperature, it was super hard to work with the dull knives. So lesson learned, I need new knives if I'm going to do this again. And I would keep the meat super cold when I'm trimming it, and I would not trim as much as I did. For the seasoning, I just used some mustard as a binder, and then I got a little seasoning from the barbecue store. I think it's a Texas brisket seasoning. Basically, what I like in brisket is just a big, strong pepper taste. So a lot of pepper in there, looks pretty basic. And then I wrapped it and let it sit overnight. I don't know if you need to do that. I just wanted to kind of get it ready, and I was bored yesterday, so I seasoned it up. Basically mustard, 1 part salt, 2 part peppers, and then this rub right here. And yeah, we'll see how it turns out. I also got some baby backs. You can see those on the side. I got those from the farmer's market in Vista yesterday, so I seasoned those up, kind of same deal. I got a baby back rub and did a mustard binder on those, so we'll throw those on a little later. Hopefully they come out pretty nice. So the smoker is running a little hotter than I like. It's running about 250. So to try to control that, I'm going to close each grate, each vent equally, so they're going to be about half open. Like I said before, I wasn't sure about this charcoal, and it lit and got hot almost immediately. I might have put a little too many briquettes into the chimenea for the start of the smoke, so maybe that had something to do with it, but definitely a little worried about how hot the fire was to begin with, how hot the smoke was to begin with, but here we go. Throwing on the brisket. Wish us luck. We'll see how it turns out. Official start time for the brisket on the smoker, Weber Smokey Mountain, 7 a.m. All right, I'm going to check it out. Let's see what temp we're at. We're around 245, so a little bit hotter than I like, but everything is dampered down about a quarter open on all sides, and then on the top same. So hopefully they'll bring it down to about 220, 225. That's what we're aiming for. We'll see in about 30 minutes. All right, it's been about 45 minutes. Let's take a look at where we're at. So we're dropping down nicely. Everything looks good. Not as much smoke coming out, but I think we're good. It's gonna be on there for another, who knows how long. It's been on for about 2 hours already, but now we're a little less than half open on all sides, and temperature stable, so now we'll just wait. All right, so we've been on for about 2.5 hours. Gonna open it up and take a first look. Still running a little bit hotter than we'd like, but whatever, who cares? All right, moment of truth. Let's take our first look, see how it's going. Ooh. Guess it looks okay. Got a couple of little flakes from the lid, but I guess it looks good. I don't know. All right, so quick update. I went to the grocery store for an hour, and it's been on about 4 hours now, and temperature dropped a little bit, so we started to open up the grate, so hopefully it'll come back up. It's about 209 right now. Also, I forgot to put on all the trim-ins to make some tallow with, so I'm gonna do that now too. And I'm gonna start to probe the meat so we can get a temperature reading. Let's go ahead and open it up and take a look. We're at 4 hours now. Running a little low on temperature, but we don't know what we're doing, so who cares? Ooh, that looks pretty good. All right, well, I'm gonna probe it, put the towel on the bottom, and just cover back up. So that's 4 hours in. So I think it's about time we put the baby back ribs on. As the Weber Smokey Mountain was kind of dying down when I was at the grocery store, I made some adjustments, add some more charcoal. I threw one chunk of hickory in just so we can get a little smoky flavor on these ribs. I dressed up these ribs last night with a little mustard binder, salt and pepper, and then baby back rub that I got from the barbecue store, which you can see on the side right there. So they look like they're pretty much ready to go. I'm just gonna add a little bit more seasoning and then throw them on the grill. Like I said, I think the brisket is the star here. I'm just throwing these on as kind of an afterthought, just because I got the smoker going. Might as well use it to its full potential. So throw these guys on and then see how it goes. They're going on at 11:45 a.m. All right, so we got the probe in, we got the ribs on, and we're running right around 230. I added a little bit of charcoal and one more chunk of hickory for the ribs because they're starting to want to get a little smoke on them. Take a quick peek, and then we'll let it sit for a couple hours. All right, so I'm gonna take a first look at the ribs. I think it's been 1.5, maybe 2 hours, and give them a little spritz. Just trying to dry out a little bit on top. Brisket is looking pretty sweet. I think it looks like it's supposed to look, I don't know. So spritzing up the ribs, and it's almost time for me to wrap the brisket and the ribs. Once I see a little bit of pullback on the ribs, I'll wrap those. But again, I'm not too concerned with the baby back ribs. I think they're pretty hard to mess up. I'm more just focused on getting the brisket right. And just like that, my first rookie mistake almost ruined the whole thing. I added a bunch of coals at the same time, opened up the vents, and the wind started blowing. I was inside. Luckily, I had the monitor on, and the temperature went in the smoker from 225, 230 to about 360, 370 in a couple of minutes. Luckily, I was able to take everything off real quick, and it was perfect time anyway to start my wrap. So here I got the tallow. I'm just dripping on there so it doesn't stick and it's a little more moist on the butcher paper. Again, I don't really know what I'm doing. I'm just gonna watch a bunch of people and trying to do my best. So I took the brisket and ribs off after the whole debacle of the grill getting up to like 375. It's back down since I was wrapping everything, and I don't think any damage was done. So, but just like that's a good example of a rookie mistake. How if I hadn't heard that alarm go off, everything would have been pretty ruined very quickly. So temperature's back at it, and here's me doing my best to wrap. I watched one video on it. I think I did a pretty mediocre job at best, but it's wrapped up. The temp when I wrapped it is 169. It was kind of stalled out there a little bit, so I figured that would be a good temp to take it off, and I didn't really have a choice because it was about to catch on fire, basically. So here we are, about 7 hours into the cook. Everything's wrapped up. You can see me trying to figure out what I'm supposed to do here. Just kind of did my best and stuck that in there. And then I remember I can grab my probe, and then that'll be like a toothpick to keep everything together. So I was really kind of struggling, like, how am I supposed to keep this down, wrapped tight? I did the ribs right after this and got way better at wrapping it, so I think I should have done the ribs first, to be honest. But anyway, it is wrapped up. It's at about 170, and hopefully the Weber Smokey Mountain is back to stable. Trying to get back to around 225, and I'm gonna wrap the ribs right after this. Everything should be going as planned, or I mean, we're doing the best we can, so let's keep seeing what happens. This also brings us to the point of the cook, which is like probably one of the most highly debated things among brisket cookers, smokers. When you're supposed to have your first beer during the smoke. So I will be cracking my first beer right now, hour 7. Some people say you should crack it right when you start the coals. Some people say when you take it out. But I will be cracking mine right now, right in time for the Dallas-Green Bay game. So perfect timing. And here's me wrapping the ribs. I just ended up taking off at the same time because, again, I wanted to let that fire cool down, and I just figured might as well do it now. They've been on there, I don't know, 2 hours, a little over 2 hours. There's some good pullback. Again, I don't really care about the baby back ribs. I think that they're pretty tough to mess up. I mean, I'll just put them on there. I don't like barbecue sauce that much, so I'll just do straight butter and a dry rub, and then that'll be it for them. We'll wrap them up, let them sit in there for another hour or two, and then put them in the cooler for another hour or two. So, yeah, that's where we're at. I think we avoided our first major rookie mistake catastrophe, but more to come. All right, quick update. It's about 4 o'clock. Been sitting at about 225 for a couple hours now. I'm gonna pull the ribs and throw them in the cooler for a couple hours, and I think the brisket will be off in, the meter probe says about 30 minutes, so we'll take that off to rest for a couple hours, but this is the first time I open it for a couple hours, so here we go. Not much to see here, just a couple of bags with a couple. So we'll pull those off. I'm sure they're done. They've been going for about a little over 4 hours, and they weren't very meaty, so they're for sure done. And we'll sit those in there, and then we'll leave the brisket for another 30 minutes, and then we should be good to go. Also, quick update, Dallas is getting destroyed by Green Bay, so everything's looking good. All right, more to come. All right, so it's been almost 9 hours. The brisket's at 201 degrees. I stopped adding coal, so fire's dying down. I think I'm gonna pull it and let it rest for a couple hours, but I'm gonna test it first. Alright. So apparently, if you test it, you should be able to just poke it right through with no room temperature butter, so seems that way. Yeah, hard to tell, but I'm gonna pull it and let it sit for a couple hours in the cooler with the ribs. Also, the Cowboys got destroyed, so everything's looking pretty good. next shot will be us opening it up and slicing it up. All right.
Yeah, but he could just start.
What?
All right, are we rolling?
We're rolling.
Okay, here we go.
How should I take this out without making a huge mess?
Oh, don't worry about it.
It's running, right?
It's running.
I feel jiggly? I don't know.
Mike, my hands are getting tired. We gotta do this till he does it.
They look pretty good.
Looks really good.
Let's see. You gotta get to. I feel like they do a little cut in the.
It looks really good.
Coming in for the steel. That's good stuff, Mike. You've done good.
Do you want me to take it off the thing and zoom into the piece of meat
Oh no,
while
man.
you're cutting it? You don't want me to come closer with it? Yeah, but you're far away. You're too high. It looks really good.
Yummy.
Okay.
You try.
God, these kids yesterday too were just going everywhere, spilling shit everywhere.
In your house?
Yeah,
Oh no. Did anyone bring good stuff?
pass this one over. And we room for them.
What did you bring, babe?
Amazing to
Stop
be-
it? Stop it?
Yeah, you stop.
Oh, yeah.
All right, here we are, finished product. Yep. Looks pretty good.
So that'll do it for Russell's first ever brisket cook on the Weber Smokey Mountain. Lessons learned, I would probably use a different charcoal next time. That charcoal was kind of a pain to use. It would have been much easier if I had just used briquettes. I was having to add charcoal pretty often, and they're broken up, and I don't know, just kind of a pain. I think Kingsford would have been easier, and the brisket already had enough flavor on it from the smoke and everything. I don't think it needed flavor from the charcoal. So that was kind of a pain. My timing for the cracking my first beer when I wrapped the brisket worked out pretty nicely. I was drinking IPAs, so that put me about 4 or 5 IPAs deep by the time the brisket was ready, which was more than enough. Probably a little too much, actually. Probably would have been better pace for a light beer, but everything seemed to work out. The ribs turned out pretty good. I like my ribs to have a little bite. I don't like fall off the bone at all. So they came out pretty good. Again, I think they're a little too smoky. The hickory like kind of overwhelms the ribs. So next time I think I would use a real mellow wood to get a wood smoke on the ribs, because the hickory just really overwhelms the ribs because they don't have much meat on them, but they're pretty good. But the brisket seemed to turn out very good. I've had some pretty good brisket. I think that was right up there with the best of them. Probably the best brisket I've ever had was at Heritage Barbecue in Oceanside. Their sister restaurant is in Costa Mesa, and I think it won a Michelin star. So their barbecue is pretty good. I had a brisket from there one time, and it blew me away. And then I had it again, and it was pretty average, but it just kind of showed me how good brisket could actually be. And this brisket was pretty good. I think everyone liked it. My daughter liked it. My wife liked it. It looked really good. Seasoning was good. But yeah, I think it was a lot of work. So keep that in mind if I had to do it again. Definitely took a lot of effort. I started the cook at 5 a.m. and then I think we ate around 6:30 or 7. I trimmed it okay. I think I would have trimmed a little less next time. I think it kept a lot more meat on it. I kind of did like a competition trim, and I don't think that was really necessary. But yeah, overall, pretty successful first cook on the Weber Smokey Mountain. And I think for me, the Weber Smokey Mountain is awesome, man. Thing keeps temperature super stable, really easy to use. It makes me wonder why like anyone would ever use a pellet grill, because the Weber Smoky Mountain's so easy, and I think it probably tastes a little better than a pellet grill, but I don't know. What do I know? Anyway, that's it for today. There's my ribs. Like I said, they came out pretty good, but thanks for watching.